They wore camo hats and went to Cheney family reunions. Do you know how dangerous it is to wear a hunting hat around Cheney?
Kamala's campaign could have been designed by a centrist AI fed reams of focus group data, poll-tested messaging, world's most lethal military, opportunity economy, coalition of Liz Cheney, Taylor Swift, and Bernie Sanders. As Edinger Mentum points out over on Twitter, quote, "The way people are talking, you would never have known. The central pillar of the Democratic campaign strategy was bringing up the border bill that Trump shot down. This was very much the first post-wokeness Democratic campaign. It was run by a party whose top people read Matt Iglesias and gave $700 million to a PAC heavily influenced by David Shore. For this wing to act like Cassandra's is beyond absurd." And I would add that she and Biden routinely took every opportunity to castigate lefty college kids for their campus activism, smearing the prototypical pink-haired college kids who happen to be opposing a genocide as raging anti-Semites. What's more, during the campaign, the popularism centrists, they all thought this campaign was going great. They loved the Liz Cheney strategy. Here is Jonathan Chait in New York Magazine. He says, "The race is close because Harris is running a brilliant campaign. Stop complaining. The centrism is working." But of course, even when Democrats run exactly as Chait, Iglesias, and co. want, there's always some person out there existing in the world and being woke that they can blame for elite Democratic failures and working class abandonment. Now, I don't think it's fair to lay all the blame for Kamala's loss at her feet, but certainly she gets some of the blame, and so too do those who advocate for this bloodless, paint-by-numbers style of politics. It has failed, routinely and now completely, and their capitulation in Republican framing is already a moral and political catastrophe. The core of Kamala's approach, and that of Biden, the bulk of establishment politics, is to avoid controversy and avoid division. If an issue polls under 60%, avoid it. If a previous position drops in support, abandon it. Studiously avoid saying anything that might, God forbid, create a backlash. This approach is wrong. It's brain dead. It's idiotic. As is the saying that politics is about addition. Wrong. Winning politics that can also deliver anything worthwhile is divisive. The only thing that really matters is getting that division correct. Think about Trump, for God's sakes. He is the single most divisive politician of the modern era, without a doubt. He is also the most successful. He deeply understands his divisive politics, and everything he says and does effectively drives towards the division that serves his political interests and message. On one side are the migrants, Democrats, and cultural elites who, in his narrative, want to destroy your town, steal your job, and indoctrinate your kids. On the other side is anyone who supports Trump against these forces, and Trump alone is, of course, the politician who can fix the problem. Another divisive politician? Bernie. Now, he stylistically, of course, quite different from Trump, but make no mistake, his fundamentally is a divisive politics. In the language of Occupy, it's the 99% versus the 1%. It's the millionaires and billionaires versus everyone else. Throw in the corporate media, the corrupt establishment, and you've got all you need for a winning, fruitful, divisive politics. Think about it. If you did your little checklist politics telling how popular Kamala's policies are versus Trump's policies, Kamala would win every time. Democrats would sweep 40 states, as evidenced by the fact that paid sick leave, abortion rights, and high minimum wages were passed in deep red states like Missouri. But that is not remotely how politics actually works. Democratic pollster Celinda Lake made this point when she explained the difference in how voters saw Trump and Kamala's economic policies. Quote, "Everybody knows what Trump economics is: China, tariffs, tax cuts. Then you go to them and ask, what are Democratic economics? And someone will make a joke about welfare, and half the people can't name anything. It is nothing like the Republican brand." Now, this isn't because Democrats had a failed ad strategy. There's some evidence their ad and ground game actually were kind of effective. It's because they have zero narrative. They have failed to create the right divisive politics. And if you don't relentlessly explain your story of the world, your goals, principles, heroes, and villains, your opponents, they will happily fill in the blanks. Ergo, she's for they, them, he's for you. So what would a better strategy look like? Well, it looks like Bernie's 2016 class versus populism, but on steroids. Democrats need to abandon a bland and offensive unity between the Cheneys and AOC and embrace a division that aggressively excises everyone who puts the billionaires' interests over the working class. There should be purity tests on everything that is core to that war against the plutocrats, and a large public purge of those who are on the wrong side of that divide. If you don't agree that billionaires should be abolished, then get the fuck out. If you don't want to tax the rich, get the fuck out. If you don't want to radically increase union power, get the fuck out. If you don't want to implement a universal jobs guarantee, get out. If you don't want universal health care, get out. If you do support these things, but you also have a more moderate position on abortion, guns, trans athletes, okay, there can be a space for you here. But these cultural issues can never be central. They are distractions, because to claim them as central is to void the correct divisive frame and undercut the narrative. The war is not between immigrants and Americans. The war is between the plutocrats and the people. Immigrant and trans panics, those are ploys to keep regular people divided against each other instead of against the corrupt political, media, and economic elite who have rigged the system and hogged all the spoils. Elon Musk is out there running around crying about trans people and migrants existing because he wants another giant taxpayer subsidy and an even bigger tax cut. He does not have your best interests, or those of the country for that matter, in mind. Bernie explained this all perfectly in a classic clip, of course, which has recently resurfaced. Take a listen.
Now, if you had an agenda like that and you went before the American people, tax breaks for the rich, destruction of Medicare, destruction of Social Security as we know it, lowering the minimum wage or abolishing it, how many votes do you think you'd get? Not a whole lot. Maybe the richest 1% would vote for you. But that's not a lot of votes. So what do? Got a problem. You package it. How do you package it? And here I want you to pay attention to me, because this is bad stuff. We divide people up by races. Affirmative action becomes one issue. All them black people are getting the jobs that we white people used to have. Split people, working class, white against black, instead of working together to create decent jobs for all. Those uppity women now, they want the right to choose. We'll split people on the abortion issue. We'll split people up on the gun issue. We'll split people up on religious issues. You follow what I'm saying? So you split people up, and then they end up, if you're a middle-class person, voting against your own interests, and the rich go laughing all the way to the bank. And they succeed with the help of the media, because the media will not talk about how, in a sense, the common problems that Americans face and how we bring people together. And that's what I believe. I believe that on issues like everybody in this room thinks, I think, that instead of giving tax breaks to the rich, we should increase federal aid to education. Anyone disagree with that? Well, you know what? Most Americans agree with that. All of you think that every American should be entitled to health care. I suspect most of you think we should not have a trade policy which allows corporations to throw American workers out on the street and run to China. Most Americans agree with that. And our job is to bring people together on common interest, and some of these extreme right-wing people, you watch the issues that they talk about. Affirmative action they use to divide. The issue of abortion they use to divide. The issue of guns they use to divide. And our job is to say, let's focus on basic economic issues. How do we expand the middle class? This is a great country. Why is it the average American is working longer hours for low wages than 30 years ago? Let's talk about that.
Amen, Bernie. And of course, there is another figure in American history we can look to who understood this politics of division and reaped massive electoral rewards, which allowed him to deliver an American social democratic program, talking, of course, about FDR, who famously welcomed the hatred of those economic royalists who would seek to block his agenda. As friend of the show, Irami Ose Frimpong points out, plan is actually not that complicated, and FDR's economic Bill of Rights will more than suffice. It reads, every American has the right to, number one, a job. Number two, an adequate wage and decent living. Number three, a decent home. Number four, medical care. Number five, economic protection during sickness, accident, old age, or unemployment. Number six, a good education. That's it. That's the program. Simple to understand, impossible to actually achieve with the current donor-beholden leadership of the Democratic Party. Probably the only hope is someone to come in like a bull in a china shop from the outside, like what Donald Trump did. Even Bernie was ultimately way too nice to these people. And since the program is actively hostile to capital, the capital class will wage a far more aggressive fight than they really mustered against Trump. It is more likely the Democrats take the advice of those who are rushing to throw trans people, immigrants, whoever, under the bus and simply capitulate to Trump's narrative. Many already have, in fact. This path may even be electorally viable in the same way that Democrats became viable after Bill Clinton adopted Reaganite neoliberal framing. But I don't care about Democrats winning, ultimately. I care about delivering meaningful improvements for working-class people, avoiding wars, and keeping our democracy. Donor-friendly capitulation is a plan to avoid even joining the fight. Sagar, the Jon Stewart clip, enjoyed that.
Hey guys, if you want to see what I had to say to Crystal's monologue, not just this one, all of them, going back to the very beginning, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com.